Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever looked at the modern business world and wondered exactly how companies manage to survive the absolute chaos of rapid technological change, massive economic uncertainty, and intense globalization, well, the secret isn't just luck, it's deliberate, calculated planning. Today, we're going to explore the ultimate roadmap that organizations use to navigate all that chaos, which is called strategic formulation. We'll be looking at how they set their objectives, how they choose their paths, and how they transform a pretty vague vision into a highly actionable strategy. All right, let's dive right into this.
Here is what we're covering today. First, what is strategic formulation? Second, setting smart objectives. Third, the steps of strategic choice. Fourth, the 3 levels of strategy. And finally, evaluating and adapting strategies.
Starting right off with Chapter 1, what is strategic formulation?
To put it as simply as possible, strategic formulation is the bridge between where an organization is right now and where it wants to be in the future. Now, this isn't just a casual brainstorming session over coffee. It is a highly systematic process. It involves analyzing your internal strengths, evaluating your external threats, and generating strategic alternatives. Because without this proper formulation, an organization is essentially driving blindfolded. They're going to waste resources, miss critical opportunities, and ultimately struggle to achieve any kind of sustainable growth. This formulation is the essential roadmap that guides literally every single decision and resource allocation moving forward.
So why is this absolutely critical right now? Well, it's because organizations are facing immense environmental pressures. Imagine a local Canadian retailer trying to deal with relentless technological shifts, sudden new supply chain regulations, and constantly changing customer preferences. These pressures force organizations to proactively adapt. Because if a business just sits back and reacts to these events as they happen, they are already way too late. Strategic formulation lets management anticipate those challenges and reduce risk, which gives them a massive competitive advantage.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, setting smart organizational objectives.
Before we go any further, we really need to clear up a very common point of confusion in management, which is the difference between an objective and a strategy. They are not the same thing. Objectives answer the question, what do we want to achieve? They're your specific, measurable targets. Strategies, on the other hand, answer, how are we actually going to achieve it? That's your comprehensive plan of action. So, for example, if your objective is to increase your market share by 10%, your strategy to get there might be to launch a new line of products and heavily expand your online marketing. You absolutely need both of them to succeed.
And that brings us perfectly to the SMART framework. Objectives must be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Just look at the vast difference in how you can phrase a goal. A genuinely terrible objective simply says something like increase sales. Honestly, that means nothing. But a SMART objective says increase online sales by 15% within the next 12 months. See the difference? That gives your entire team incredibly clear, quantifiable direction and a very strict deadline. Let's apply this to a real-world scenario. Imagine you're managing a small Canadian healthcare clinic. Your overarching, inspiring vision might be to become Canada's most trusted provider, which sounds great, right? But it's not actionable. Instead, if your current patient satisfaction is sitting at 85%, your specific, measurable objective becomes increasing that satisfaction score to 95% within exactly 2 years. Now your clinic has a precise target, and you can practically measure your progress toward it every single month.
Okay, Chapter 3. The steps of strategic choice.
Making a strategic choice actually requires following 5 strict steps. You always start by analyzing the situation, which means assessing your internal strengths and external threats, using tools like a SWOT analysis. From there, you generate alternatives, like maybe expanding into a brand new market. Next, you rigorously evaluate those alternatives for their risks and costs, before finally selecting the single best strategy that perfectly aligns with your goals. And that 5th step? Well, that is where things get real.
Step 5 is resource allocation. And listen, selecting a brilliant strategy means absolutely nothing if you do not fund it properly. You have to assign your financial capital, your human talent, your technology, and your equipment to actively support the implementation. If your strategy is to build a massive new app, but you don't give your IT department the budget or the staff to do it, you are going to fail before you even begin.
Which brings us to Chapter 4, the 3 levels of strategy.
Here is a slightly provocative question for you. At what level does strategy actually happen? Does the CEO just do all the strategy in a boardroom while everyone else just does the work? Well, not quite.
Strategy happens at multiple distinct tiers within a company, and honestly, the job of a CEO is very, very different from the job of a department manager. Strategy actually exists at 3 levels. At the very top, you have corporate-level strategy, which answers the big question, which industries should we even compete in? Next down is business-level strategy, which is all about how to compete within a specific industry. A giant like Walmart uses a strategy called cost leadership, while a specialized Canadian boutique might use differentiation to offer premium, highly unique goods. And finally, we have functional-level strategy, which dictates the day-to-day actions in specific departments like HR or marketing. And for a company to succeed, all 3 of these levels absolutely must align.
Now, when operating at that middle business level, organizations have some major choices. They can pursue aggressive growth, like market penetration to sell way more to their existing customers, or diversification to enter totally new, uncharted markets. But here's the thing, growth isn't mandatory. If the business environment is stable, a stability strategy is perfectly fine. Conversely, if times get tough, a retrenchment strategy, which might mean downsizing or selling off assets, might be totally necessary just to survive and improve your baseline performance.
And finally, Chapter 5, Evaluating and Adapting Strategies.
Once a strategy is actively in place, you cannot just set it and forget it. That's a recipe for disaster. Managers have to continuously evaluate it. We always look at financial measures, like return on investment and revenue growth. But finances aren't the whole picture. We also have to evaluate customer measures, checking on retention and loyalty. We look at internal process measures to make sure our efficiency and quality are up to standard. And finally, learning and growth measures, checking that our employees are developing their skills and that we are continuing to innovate. Now, I know strategic formulation sounds amazing on paper, but in reality, you are going to hit massive roadblocks. You're going to deal with unpredictable environmental uncertainty, crippling resource constraints, and perhaps most challenging of all, resistance to change from your own employees who might push back against new initiatives. As a leader, you have to be totally prepared to manage these real-world human and operational hurdles. I want to leave you with one final provocative thought today. Rapid technological change can make strategies completely obsolete overnight. You can spend months crafting the perfect plan, but if a new technology disrupts your industry, you must be agile or you will fail. Strategy isn't a static document, it's a living, breathing roadmap. So ask yourself, if your entire industry changed tomorrow, would your current strategy allow you to survive, or would it just be an anchor pulling you down? Thank you so much for watching this explainer. If you found this breakdown helpful and you want more deep dives into the mechanics of business, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.